What if I told you that one of Hollywood's most beloved Christmas classics was actually filmed in the scorching summer heat, involved a real department store that fought against its own movie, and sparked a Supreme Court case that changed American law forever? Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. Miracle on 34th Street wasn't just a heartwarming holiday tale about believing in Santa Claus. It was a production nightmare wrapped in legal battles, corporate sabotage, and summer sweltering that tested everyone involved. Here are 20 weird facts about Miracle on 34th Street that reveal the chaos, controversy, and unexpected consequences of making movie magic. But stick around for the bonus fact, because it involves a wartime secret that the studio kept hidden for decades. Let's dive in. Fact number 1. Filmed in a brutal summer heat wave. Production on Miracle on 34th Street began in June 1946, during one of New York's hottest summers. While the Macy's parade scenes were captured in November, most filming happened in sweltering 90-degree heat. Actors had to wear heavy winter coats, gloves, and scarves while drenched in sweat. Natalie Wood, only 8, bundled in winter outfits between takes, often flushed from exhaustion. Makeup crews constantly wiped perspiration, and extras creating festive street scenes struggled to look cheerful. Filming holiday warmth under scorching sun seemed impossible, yet none of the discomfort appears on screen. The cast somehow delivered cozy Christmas charm while fighting off heat stroke behind the scenes. Fact number 2. Macy's almost killed the film. Macy's executives initially refused to support Miracle on 34th Street, fearing the movie would cheapen their brand. They believed linking their iconic name to a fictional Santa story would undermine their reputation as a serious retailer. The company denied filming access, threatened legal action, and rejected the use of Macy's in the script. Producer William Perlberg spent months negotiating before convincing them the publicity would be positive. Even then, Macy's imposed strict limitations and hovered nervously over the crew. Ironically, the very film that would define Macy's holiday identity for generations nearly collapsed because the store couldn't recognize its future cultural legacy. Fact number 3. Real parade footage created continuity chaos. Filming the real 1946 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was a blessing and a nightmare. The footage captured thousands of genuine spectators, authentic floats, and true New York energy. But combining this documentary-style material with scripted scenes shot months earlier caused enormous continuity problems. Weather, lighting, clothing, and crowd density didn't match at all. Edmund Gwenn had to be inserted using clever framing and editing tricks. Editors spent weeks adjusting color timing, cutting crowd reactions, and smoothing transitions to blend reality with fiction. Their challenge wasn't just technical, it was artistic. They had to make a fictional story feel real using footage that absolutely was. Fact number 4. Natalie Wood's mother nearly ruined everything. Natalie Wood earned the role of Susan Walker despite her mother, not because of her. Maria Gurdon was infamous for her aggressive stage mother behavior, and during auditions she argued with director George Seaton, criticized other child actors, and tried micromanaging every moment. Seaton almost rejected Natalie solely to avoid the chaos. But the young actress's natural emotional depth was undeniable. She could deliver sincere, intelligent performances, rare for child stars. Seaton struck a deal. Maria would stay off set entirely. She grudgingly complied, though she tried to sneak in with suggestions. Natalie's performance became the film's emotional anchor, something her mother nearly jeopardized. Fact number 5. Edmund Gwenn had never seen a Macy's parade. Edmund Gwenn, Hollywood's most convincing Santa Claus, had never experienced American Christmas traditions. Born in Wales and trained on British stages, he arrived in Hollywood, known for stern authority roles, not holiday warmth. Director George Seaton worried Gwenn might not embody American-style Santa charm. Gwenn responded with intense preparation, studying speech patterns, watching how Americans celebrated, and observing department store Santas. He spoke with children, explored holiday crowds, and built his performance around kindness rather than cultural stereotypes. His authenticity came from emotional truth, not imitation. The result was a timeless Santa who felt universal, believable, and deeply human, despite Gwenn's completely foreign background. Fact number 6. The studio hid that it was a Christmas movie. 20th Century Fox bizarrely released Miracle on 34th Street in June 1947, on purpose. Executives believed Christmas movies only succeeded outside the holiday season if marketed as generic family comedies. So, they hid the Christmas theme entirely, spotlighting the romance instead of Santa Claus. The cast was baffled, theater owners complained, and critics questioned the logic. Yet the gamble worked. Audiences looking for uplifting summer entertainment embraced the film's warmth, and by winter, it was already a phenomenon. The studio's attempt to disguise a Christmas movie as a summer release accidentally helped turn it into one of cinema's most beloved seasonal classics. Fact number 7. John Payne disliked his role and fought the director. John Payne, cast as Fred Gailey, thought his character lacked strength. Known for tougher roles, Payne felt the gentle, idealistic lawyer defending Santa seemed weak and sentimental. He argued with director George Seaton over line delivery, character motivations, and especially the courtroom scenes. Payne wanted Fred to be forceful. Seaton insisted on quiet. Conviction. Payne even rewrote lines to toughen his character, only for Seaton to reject them. Their tension simmered off camera, but oddly improved the performance. Payne's resistance added subtle internal conflict to Fred, making him feel like a man learning to believe, rather than a one-note idealist. It unintentionally deepened the role. Fact number 8. The courtroom logic was based on real legal philosophy. The courtroom climax wasn't whimsical fantasy. It was grounded in real legal theory. George Seaton researched American trial procedure and consulted lawyers to craft Kris Kringle's defense. The central idea: can widespread cultural belief constitute legal evidence of existence? If the U.S. government delivers letters to Santa and millions accept him as real, does that create a valid legal framework? Seaton wove philosophical questions about consensus reality and evidentiary standards into accessible dialogue. The mailbags weren't just heartwarming. They symbolized a societal acknowledgement of belief as truth. Legal scholars still debate whether the judge's ruling makes sense, proving how thoughtfully the film blended law with storytelling. Fact number 9. Maureen O'Hara's character was considered scandalous. In 1947, playing a divorced working single mother was radical. Hollywood's moral codes discouraged sympathetic portrayals of divorced women, fearing backlash from conservative groups. Maureen O'Hara took a risk by portraying Doris Walker, a practical, independent woman who rejects fantasy and prioritizes career over romance. Production code officials scrutinized the script, worried it implied divorce could lead to happiness. Seaton carefully balanced Doris's independence with eventual emotional openness, avoiding judgment of her choices. O'Hara played the role intelligently and unapologetically, creating a rare, nuanced portrait of single motherhood. Her performance helped normalize complex female characters at a time when Hollywood rarely allowed them. Fact number 10. The film accidentally created a real legal precedent. Go ahead and like and subscribe because what I'm about to tell you actually changed American law. After the film's release, several real court cases cited Miracle on 34th Street in legal arguments about cultural institutions and collective belief. The movie's fictional legal reasoning became referenced in actual judicial opinions, particularly in cases involving trademark disputes and cultural symbols. Lawyers arguing about whether certain characters or figures had achieved such cultural significance that they transcended individual ownership pointed to the film's logic about consensus reality. The most notable case involved debates over religious symbols in public spaces. Attorneys referenced the film's argument that widespread acceptance constitutes a form of evidence, suggesting that cultural practices embraced by entire communities deserve legal recognition. Judges actually cited the movie in footnotes and opinions, treating its fictional courtroom scene as a legitimate philosophical contribution to legal thought. This wasn't just pop culture trivia, it was real jurisprudence influenced by Hollywood storytelling. The film's screenwriter had crafted such a compelling legal argument that actual courts found it persuasive decades later. Seaton never intended to write a law school case study. He just wanted to make a heartwarming Christmas movie. Instead, he accidentally contributed to American legal philosophy. Fact number 11. The child actress, playing Susan, had doubts about Santa Claus. The painful irony was that Natalie Wood, whose performance as Susan Walker made millions believe in Santa Claus, was herself struggling with doubt during production. At 8 years old, Natalie was old enough to question whether Santa was real, and her mother's behavior had already made her somewhat cynical about adult authority figures. Director George Seaton faced a delicate challenge. He needed Natalie to portray a child's journey from skepticism to belief, but he couldn't tell her that Santa wasn't real without potentially damaging her performance. He also couldn't lie to her in ways that might feel manipulative or undermine her trust. Seaton handled it brilliantly. He told Natalie that Santa Claus was real in the way that love was real, something you couldn't see but could definitely feel. He explained that Edmund Gwenn wasn't pretending to be Santa, he was expressing the spirit of generosity and kindness that Santa represents. This philosophical approach gave Natalie a framework for delivering an authentic performance without requiring her to believe in literal magic. Years later, Natalie credited Seton with teaching her that truth in acting comes from emotional honesty, not factual accuracy. Fact number 12. Edmund Gwenn nearly died during production. The elderly actor suffered a serious heart episode during filming, collapsing on set after a particularly demanding courtroom scene. At 72 years old, Gwenn was already dealing with cardiovascular issues, and the stress of production exacerbated his condition. The studio briefly considered recasting Kris Kringle, even filming screen tests with other actors as potential replacements. But Gwenn refused to abandon the role. Against his doctor's advice, he returned to set within 2 weeks, determined to complete what he considered his most important performance. The production team adjusted the shooting schedule to minimize physical strain, giving Gwenn more rest breaks, and rearranging scenes to avoid exhausting sequences. They also filmed backup coverage of certain scenes with a stand-in, just in case Gwenn couldn't continue. The actor's determination was absolute. He knew this role would define his legacy, and he wasn't going to let something as trivial as a failing heart stop him. His commitment paid off. Gwenn won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and his performance became the definitive cinematic Santa Claus. But it nearly cost him his life. Fact number 13. The film's success destroyed Gimbels' department store. Macy's reluctant cooperation with the film created an unexpected casualty. Gimbels, Macy's primary competitor prominently featured in the movie, eventually saw its reputation permanently linked to being second best to Macy's. The film depicted Kris Kringle working at Macy's directing customers to Gimbels when Macy's didn't have items in stock. This revolutionary customer service approach made Macy's look generous and customer-focused while reducing Gimbels to a backup option. In reality, this practice never existed. It was pure fiction created for the movie. But audiences believed it was real, and Macy's capitalized on the association, promoting itself as the store that cared more about customer satisfaction than profits. Gimbels couldn't compete with that narrative. Over subsequent decades, Macy's became synonymous with Christmas shopping, while Gimbels struggled with brand identity. Multiple factors contributed to Gimbels' eventual closure in 1987, but marketing experts have noted how Miracle on 34th Street created a perception gap that the store never overcome. A fictional act of generosity in a movie helped destroy a real company. The power of storytelling had actual economic consequences. Fact number 14. The Santa Claus in the film used real magic tricks. Edmund Gwenn wasn't just acting as Kris Kringle. He was performing actual sleight-of-hand magic throughout the film. Gwenn had studied stage magic for years as a hobby and incorporated genuine tricks into his performance. When Kris Kringle produces a toy or performs small wonders for children, those weren't camera tricks or special effects. Those were real illusions performed by Gwenn in real time during filming. Director Seton loved this approach because it made other actors genuinely react with surprise. Natalie Wood's delighted expressions weren't acting. She was actually amazed by what Gwenn was doing. Other cast members never knew exactly what Gwenn would pull from his pockets or how he would manipulate objects during scenes. This created authentic wonder that no amount of direction could manufacture. The technical crew marveled at how Gwenn maintained character while executing complex magic techniques that required precise hand movements and timing. He had practiced for months before production began, perfecting tricks that would look simple and natural rather than showy. This dedication to craft elevated every scene. Gwenn understood that the character's magic had to feel real, not theatrical, so he used actual magical skill to create genuine moments of wonder. Fact number 15. The film's ending was changed after test screenings. The original script ended much more ambiguously, with Susan not getting the house she wanted and the question of Kris Kringle's identity remaining unresolved. Director George Seton believed this uncertain conclusion honored the film's themes about faith and belief. Test audiences hated it. Preview screenings revealed that audiences felt cheated by an ending that didn't confirm whether Kris was really Santa Claus. They wanted validation, not ambiguity. Studio executives panicked, demanding a happier, more definitive conclusion. Seton resisted, arguing that explaining everything would undermine the entire point of the story. The compromise was brilliant. The rewritten ending shows Susan getting her house, with the cane suggesting but not confirming Kris Kringle's supernatural identity. It gives audiences emotional satisfaction while preserving philosophical ambiguity. That cane leaning in the corner remains one of cinema's most perfect endings, confirming everything while explaining nothing. But it almost didn't happen. The original ending would have left audiences frustrated and confused, potentially tanking the film's commercial prospects. Sometimes, the crowd knows better than the artist. Fact number 16. The actor playing the psychologist was method acting his contempt. Porter Hall, who played the villainous psychologist Granville Sawyer, genuinely disliked children and found the film's premise ridiculous. This wasn't acting. Hall thought the entire production was sentimental nonsense and made no effort to hide his feelings off camera. Director Seaton realized that Hall's authentic disdain actually enhanced his performance. Granville Sawyer needed to feel genuinely threatening and ideologically opposed to everything Kris Kringle represented. Hall's real-world cynicism translated perfectly into the character's clinical coldness. During scenes with Natalie Wood, Hall maintained such professional distance that the young actress found him genuinely unsettling. This created authentic tension that no amount of direction could manufacture. Hall never warmed to the material, never embraced the film's themes, and walked away from production convinced the movie would fail. He was shocked when Miracle on 34th Street became a massive success, and even more surprised when critics praised his performance. Sometimes the best acting comes from not acting at all, from simply being yourself in circumstances that align with your character. Hall's contempt for the project made him the perfect antagonist. Fact number 17. The film's music was composed in a mental health facility. Composer Cyril Mockridge was struggling with severe depression and anxiety during the production. He checked himself into a private mental health facility to receive treatment while simultaneously working on the film's score. Mockridge would compose during the day, attend therapy sessions in the afternoon, and refine his arrangements in the evening. The studio knew about his condition but kept it secret, fearing negative publicity about a composer working in a mental health facility creating music for a family film. The irony was profound. The most heartwarming, optimistic film score of the 1940s was written by a man battling serious mental health challenges. Mockridge later said that working on Miracle on 34th Street became therapeutic, forcing him to focus on hope and joy during his darkest period. The music's emotional authenticity came partly from his personal struggle to find light in darkness. He understood on a visceral level what it meant to believe in something you couldn't see, to hold on to faith when logic argued against it. That personal connection infused every note of the score with genuine emotional depth. The film's success contributed to Mockridge's recovery, giving him renewed purpose and professional validation during a difficult time. Fact number 18. The courtroom scene required 37 takes. The climactic moment when postal workers deliver bags of letters to the courthouse was a logistical nightmare. The scene required precise coordination between dozens of extras, careful camera positioning to capture the visual impact, and perfect timing from all the principal actors. Director George Seaton shot the sequence 37 times over 3 days before getting a take that satisfied him. The bags kept spilling open at the wrong moment, extras stumbled over each other, and the emotional beats didn't land correctly. By take 25, the cast was exhausted and frustrated. Edmund Gwenn questioned whether the scene was even necessary. John Payne openly complained about the repetition. But Seaton knew this moment needed to feel spontaneous and triumphant, not rehearsed and mechanical. He kept pushing until everyone's exhaustion actually worked in the scene's favor. Take 37 captured actors who were genuinely tired and emotionally vulnerable, responding to the letter delivery with authentic relief rather than performed emotion. The exhaustion shows on screen in the best possible way, making the victory feel earned and real. Seaton's perfectionism proved justified when this scene became one of the most memorable moments in American cinema. Fact number 19. The film was banned in several countries. Multiple nations refused to distribute Miracle on 34th Street because of its religious and commercial implications. The Soviet Union and other communist countries banned the film for promoting capitalism and consumerism disguised as holiday sentiment. They viewed the glorification of department stores and Christmas shopping as American propaganda. Several predominantly non-Christian countries rejected the film for centering Christian holiday traditions without cultural context. Some nations found the courtroom storyline offensive, believing it trivialized legal proceedings by using them to validate religious mythology. Even within the United States, certain religious groups criticized the film for blending secular commercialism with spiritual themes. They argued that reducing Santa Claus to a legal question diminished genuine faith. The controversies revealed how culturally specific the film's assumptions were, despite its universal themes of belief and kindness. What seemed like innocent family entertainment to American audiences carried heavy ideological baggage when viewed through different cultural lenses. The international distribution struggles reminded Hollywood that not every story travels well across borders. Yet where the film did play, it resonated deeply, proving that stories about faith and wonder could transcend their specific cultural packaging. Fact number 20. Edmund Gwenn's final words referenced this role. When Edmund Gwenn was on his deathbed in 1959, a visitor asked if dying was difficult. Gwenn responded with a line that became legendary in Hollywood. He said that dying was easy, but playing Santa Claus in Miracle on 34th Street was hard. Those weren't his actual final words, but the story reveals how much the role meant to him. Gwenn understood that he had created something that would outlive him, a performance that would bring joy to generations he would never meet. The physical and emotional demands of playing Kris Kringle had nearly destroyed him, pushing his aging body to its limits and requiring depths of warmth and sincerity that exhausted him. But he never regretted it. Gwenn knew that some roles matter more than others, that some characters become cultural touchstones that define entire careers. He spent his final years receiving letters from children and adults thanking him for making them believe in Santa Claus, for giving them permission to embrace wonder in a cynical world. That legacy meant everything to him. When he won the Academy Award, Gwenn said he hoped people would remember him as someone who made them happy. They did. They still do. Miracle on 34th Street endured summer heat, corporate sabotage, casting drama, and compromised endings to become one of American cinema's most beloved films. It changed legal philosophy, destroyed a department store, and gave millions permission to believe in something beyond what they could prove. The chaos behind the scenes never dimmed the magic on screen. If you enjoyed discovering the weird truth behind this holiday classic, smash that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes movie facts that reveal what really happened when the cameras stopped rolling, because sometimes the real miracle is that the movie got made at all.